And tonight I'm going to talk about creating an inclusive community. And before I begin, I want to thank everyone for being here and for helping to build a stronger and more inclusive community. And I don't know about you, but for those who have been here before, I think each one of our open mic nights have been magical. I mean, there have been a diversity in terms of gender, age, and race, and I just really like that. Now, before I begin my talk about building an inclusive community, it's important that you know I don't claim to know a darn thing. My talk is more observation than blueprint and more hope than certainty. Now, in my humble opinion, the two essential building blocks of community are respect for others and acceptance of differences, which is a very easy thing to say and quite frankly not always an easy thing to do. I am, however, convinced if one gives respect and shows acceptance, it plants the seeds of reciprocal behavior. And putting concept into action is how we build an inclusive community. And while I'm not one to adhere to any religious faith, I do find great comfort in the common theme of compassion that's evident in all the world's religions. I believe compassion provides a foundation for an emotionally healthy view of the world. And the Judeo-Christian tradition calls it the Golden Rule, while other faith systems call it something else. The phrases are different, the concept's the same. The Golden Rule, or any of its variations, excuse me, I had a Coke before I came up, so. Again, the Golden Rule, or any of its variations, is a spiritual tradition that I accept, embrace, and do my darndest to live by. And the Dalai Lama wrote that every religion emphasizes human improvement, love, and respect for others, sharing other people's suffering. On these lines, every religion has more or less the same viewpoint and the same goal. And that, my friends, is how we build an inclusive community. The great Bill Moyers once wrote of how we are the editors of our own sacred text. And to me, that's a very beautiful way of talking about spiritual freedom. And the author Karen Armstrong writes of how compassion allows us to shed the matters of ego and dethrone ourselves as the center of the universe. And that, my friends, is how we build an inclusive community. And I can only speak for myself, but I emphatically reject moral superiority by anyone, whether they're liberal, conservative, fundamentalist, or atheist. In my humble opinion, no one has the exclusive right to universal truth, or the exclusive rights to universal truth. And I don't know about you, but I'm weary of the seemingly unending conflict of ideologies. I reject the notion that volume and veracity are synonymous, and I believe we should stop shouting and take the time to listen. It is up to us to create, it's up to us to create a climate where reasoned discourse replaces shouts of recrimination. And I hold fast to the belief that we can create a community where fairness, respect, and cooperation can and will become the new norm. And that, my friends, is how we build an inclusive community. And now is the time for us to build that inclusive community. And how can we do that? We can begin by recognizing that different experiences create different perspectives. While this sounds very simple, it's a monumental task for all of us. We must begin by rejecting the politics of anger, fear, and divisiveness that seems to permeate our landscape. We must not confuse differences of opinion with evil. We must move beyond the simple recognition of differences to actually respecting those differences. And remember, folks, it starts with us. And in my humble opinion, one of the most important components of an inclusive community is the feeling of hospitality, and I certainly get that here with this group. A genuine spirit of acceptance is manifested in how we welcome and engage the folks that are part of our community. For me, each and every day is a celebration of life. It is being in love with goodness, kindness, and compassion. And frankly, it's about having a sense of humor about absolutes. And that, my friends, is how we build an inclusive community. And my hope for each and every person here is that we are able to live with courage, gratitude, and integrity. In difficult times, may we find grace. In despair, may we find peace. And in community, may we find acceptance. As I see it, we are all individuals bound by the common values of decency and fairness, and how we treat one another is absolutely essential to what we aspire to be. I ask you to join me and strengthen our community by advocating forgiveness of perceived slights and celebrate all that is good. And that, my friends, is how we build an inclusive community. And I embrace the spirituality of imperfection, which to me walks hand in metaphorical hand with acceptance, and I hope never to lose the belief that kindness truly does make the world a better place. It has been said that creeds come from professional theologians and credos come from amateurs. Well, this amateur's personal credo is different strokes for different folks. And with that in mind, I believe I'm charged to respect the views, values, and traditions of others. And remember, we don't have to think alike to love alike. What we have in common far outnumbers our differences. The very wise observer of humankind, Margaret Mead, wrote, "If we are to achieve a richer culture, rich in contrasting values, we must recognize the whole gamut of human potentialities and weave a less arbitrary social fabric, one in which a diverse human gift can find a fitting place." And that, my friends, is how we build an inclusive community. And as for one who doesn't believe in the eternal life, I do believe our good deeds can live on. I rather like the ancient Chinese proverb that says, "One generation plants the trees, the next gets the shade." And I see that as an apt metaphor for living a compassionate and kind life. And for me, my life is about my connection to my fellow human beings. It could be the long-term friendship that I share with a few people in this room, or a passing acquaintance, or even a momentary interaction. I choose to approach everyone with an attitude of respecting their worth and the significance of their lives. And that, my friends, are some of the steps that I take to build an inclusive community. Thank you.